The Awakening. Dr. Elena Santos stood before the quantum interface, her dark eyes fixed on the stream of alien data flickering across multiple holographic screens. After 2 decades of breaking meridian encryption protocols, she had finally discovered the truth. Humanity's subjugation hadn't been random. They were simply the latest in a long line of civilizations that had faced the Empire's cleansing protocols. The underground facility hummed with nervous energy as other researchers gathered around her station. Deep beneath the ruins of old Singapore, humanity had spent the last 3 centuries building, planning, and waiting. The Meridians believed they had crushed Earth's civilization, leaving only scattered groups of primitives to study. They never suspected that these primitives had turned their entire planet into a weapon. "Show me the translation again," Admiral Chen requested, his weathered face illuminated by the dancing lights. At 73, he was one of the few who still carried childhood memories of the invasion. Elena nodded, bringing up the decoded transmissions. "The Meridians call it the ascension process," she explained, her voice tight with controlled anger. "They believe that true evolution can only come through systematic trauma. They've been doing this for millennia, finding civilizations, testing their biological and psychological breaking points, and then," she paused, steadying herself, recording the results. The room fell silent as images of other worlds appeared. Dozens of civilizations, each subjected to carefully orchestrated apocalypses. The Meridians hadn't destroyed these species out of hatred or fear. They had done it out of scientific curiosity. "But they made a mistake with us," Admiral Chen said softly, touching the screen showing Earth's designation. "Subject species 2184. They thought our regression to a primitive state meant we were broken. They never realized we were adapting." Elena pulled up another display, this one showing the current state of Project Phoenix. Across Earth's hidden underground networks, billions of humans had spent generations preparing for this moment. While the Meridians watched their small surface populations living in apparent primitive conditions, humanity had transformed itself. "The biomechanical interfaces are ready," Elena reported, bringing up the latest test results. "Every volunteer's neural patterns have successfully merged with the quantum systems. We can now process information faster than their strongest eye. And our stealth tech," she smiled grimly, "they still haven't detected a single test run." Admiral Chen turned to face the assembled team leaders. 300 years ago, the Meridians came to Earth believing they were gods conducting experiments on lesser beings. They thought they were writing the final chapter of humanity's story. He gestured to the screens showing their hidden fleets, armies, and technological achievements. "Instead, they gave us time to become something they never imagined possible." "The Liberation Fleet is ready," Captain Sarah Rodriguez reported from her station. "All ships are equipped with the new quantum drives and neural interface systems. The moment we launch, our entire force will think and move as one, faster than any Meridian defense network can respond." "And the other species?" Elena asked, bringing up the data on currently subjugated civilizations. "The Meridians are still actively experimenting on at least 7 other worlds. That's why our first strike has to succeed," Admiral Chen replied. "Once we take their primary research facility in the Arcturus sector, we'll have access to their entire network. We can warn the others, show them how to fight back." He paused, studying the faces around him. "Humanity won't just free itself. We'll end their entire twisted experiment." Elena thought about the generations of humans who had lived and died in the underground cities, each contributing to this moment. The Meridians had tried to break humanity's spirit through trauma and isolation. Instead, they have forced humanity to evolve beyond anything they could have predicted. "Final preparations are complete," she reported, initializing the quantum network that would link their entire force. "Project Phoenix is ready to launch." Admiral Chen nodded, his expression resolute. "Send the signal to all bases. Operation Lazarus begins in 6 hours." He looked at the assembled leaders, each representing different aspects of humanity's carefully planned resurrection. The Meridians wanted to study humanity's breaking point. Instead, they're about to learn what happens when you give humans 3 centuries to plan their revenge. As the orders went out through quantum channels the Meridians couldn't detect, Elena thought about all the other species still suffering under the Empire's experiments. Humanity had transformed its trauma into something powerful, turning 3 centuries of apparent defeat into careful preparation. Now they would show the galaxy that sometimes the most dangerous specimen was the one you thought you had already broken. The awakening had begun, and the Meridians were about to learn that their greatest experiment had become their worst nightmare. Silent strike. The Meridian Research Facility hung in space like a twisted cathedral, its crystalline spires reflecting the light of distant stars. Captain Sarah Rodriguez watched it through the quantum-enhanced sensors of her stealth ship, the HSS Phantom. Her crew of 50 remained silent, their minds linked through neural interfaces that allowed them to communicate without speaking. Security patterns mapped, reported Lieutenant Maya Chen, her thoughts flowing smoothly through their shared neural space. They're exactly as the intelligence suggested. The Meridians haven't changed their protocols in centuries. Sarah felt a grim satisfaction. The Meridians' greatest weakness was their absolute confidence in their own superiority. They hadn't bothered to upgrade their security systems because they believed no lesser species could possibly challenge them. All teams in position. Dr. Elena Santos confirmed from her station aboard the command ship. Through their neural link, Sarah could feel Elena's mix of anticipation and anxiety. This was humanity's first strike against their oppressors, and everything had to go perfectly. The assault team moved like ghosts through the facility's outer defenses. Their biomechanical enhancements, developed over centuries of secret research, allowed them to process information and react faster than any normal human or Meridian AI. They didn't just avoid the security systems, they moved between their detection pulses, existing in the fragments of time the Meridians didn't even know they could measure. Primary lab complex ahead, Maya reported, her consciousness guiding them through the facility's layout. Life signs detected, multiple species. Her mental tone shifted with concern. Some readings match known patterns from Earth's invasion. Sarah's jaw tightened. They're still using the same methods. Confirm breach protocol. The team split into 3 groups, their movements synchronized through the quantum network. As they approached the main laboratory, Sarah felt a surge of controlled anger. The space was filled with containment pods, each holding beings from different worlds. Some were clearly children. Dr. Santos, Sarah transmitted through their secure link. Are you seeing this? Downloading their research data now, Elena responded, her consciousness flowing through the facility systems. They're perfecting their methods, using what they learned from Earth to break other species more efficiently. A sudden shift in the facility's energy patterns caught Sarah's attention. Through their enhanced senses, the team could feel the subtle vibrations of approaching Meridian guards. They weren't due to patrol this section for another 6 minutes. They've altered their patterns, Maya warned, but Sarah's team was already moving. Their neural interfaces allowed them to adapt instantly, flowing into new positions without need for verbal commands. This was what they had trained for, the moment when plans met reality. The first Meridian guard rounded the corner, its crystalline armor gleaming. Before it could react, Sarah's team had already executed their attack. Their quantum-enhanced weapons fired in perfect silence, disrupting the Meridian's biological mechanical systems. It collapsed without a sound, its consciousness severed from the Empire's network. We need to move faster, Sarah commanded, feeling the situation shift through their shared awareness. Begin evacuation protocols. Maya, start breaking their stasis fields. Dr. Santos, how long until the data transfer is complete? 30 seconds, Elena responded. But Sarah, this is bigger than we thought. They're not just experimenting on these species. They're trying to map the fundamental patterns of consciousness itself. They believe suffering is the key to unlocking higher forms of existence. Sarah moved to one of the stasis pods, watching as Maya's team carefully deactivated its containment field. Inside, a young alien being, vaguely humanoid but with iridescent skin and multiple eyes, began to stir. Its consciousness brushed against their neural network, radiating confusion and fear. "We're here to help," Sarah projected, allowing their neural interfaces to translate her thoughts into patterns the being could understand. "You're not alone anymore." More stasis fields deactivated, and more minds joined their network. Each carried memories of trauma, of watching their worlds fall to the Meridian's experiments. But now they could also feel humanity's strength, the power of a species that had turned centuries of oppression into preparation for this moment. "Data transfer complete," Elena announced. "And Sarah, I found something else. Records of resistance movements on the Meridian homeworld itself. There are some among them who oppose these experiments, who've been working in secret to end them." "How reliable is this information?" Sarah asked, even as her team continued their evacuation efforts. "Very. They've been leaving markers in their research data, patterns that only other scientists would recognize. They're asking for help, but in a way their own people wouldn't understand." A sudden surge of energy through the facility's systems interrupted their conversation. The Meridians had finally detected something amiss. Sarah could feel their confusion through the facility's network. They couldn't understand how their subjects had escaped, couldn't comprehend how their perfect systems had been breached. "All teams, execute final phase," Sarah commanded. As her people moved with practiced precision, evacuating the rescued beings and planting quantum charges at key points, she allowed herself a moment of fierce pride. The Meridians had spent centuries studying humanity's limits, but they had never understood humanity's true nature. They had thought they were observing a broken species. Instead, they had given humanity the time and motivation to become something entirely new. As the rescue ships departed and the charges detonated, destroying the facility's research data while leaving its structure intact, Sarah sent a final message through its network, knowing the Meridians would spend centuries trying to decode it. "You wanted to study evolution through suffering. Now you'll learn about evolution through defiance." The Coalition. Deep within Earth's underground city of New Brasilia, the great chamber hummed with alien voices. Dr. Elena Santos watched as representatives from 7 different species gathered around the quantum projection table. Each had been rescued from Meridian research facilities over the past 3 months, and each carried the scars of generations of experimentation. "Our neural interface technology can be adapted to work with any sentient consciousness," Elena explained, her words flowing through the universal translator fields. "It's how we stayed hidden from the Meridians for so long. We learned to think between the frequencies they monitor." The Volari delegate, a being of shifting iridescent patterns, pulsed with interest. "You turned their own methods against them," it communicated. "They studied consciousness, so you evolved yours beyond their understanding." "Precisely," Admiral Chen agreed, his aged face illuminated by the holographic displays showing their recent victories. "But we need more than technology to defeat them. We need your knowledge, your experiences, your understanding of how they operate across different sectors of space." The Cathera representative, a crystalline entity that had once been part of a vast collective consciousness before the Meridians shattered their unity, chimed in with harmonic tones. "You offer us more than weapons or tactics. You offer us hope. In 3 centuries, you achieved what our people thought impossible. You turned subjugation into strength." Elena brought up new displays, showing the modified stealth ships they had developed. Each vessel had been redesigned to accommodate the unique biological needs of their various allies. "Every species here has evolved different ways of perceiving reality," she said. "Together, we can create something the Meridians cannot comprehend. A unified force that operates on multiple levels of consciousness simultaneously." The chamber's atmosphere shifted as the implications became clear. The Meridians had spent millennia studying how to break species down to their fundamental components. They had never considered what would happen if those broken pieces found ways to become stronger together. "There's something else you need to see," Captain Rodriguez announced, stepping forward. Through their shared neural network, she transmitted the data they had recovered about the Meridian resistance movement. "Their empire isn't as unified as they want us to believe. There are those among them who recognize the horror of what they've done." The Miraki delegate, whose species communicated through patterns of bioluminescence, flashed with skepticism. "Can we trust any fragment of their civilization? They have brought nothing but pain to the galaxy." "We're not proposing trust," Elena clarified. "We're proposing understanding. The Meridians believe they can quantify consciousness through suffering. Their dissidents recognize this as a fundamental flaw in their science. They've been leaving breadcrumbs in their research data, pointing to a weakness at the heart of their empire." Admiral Chen activated a new display, showing the vast network of quantum resonance towers that connected Meridian consciousness across their territory. "Their entire civilization is built on the belief that shared trauma leads to evolutionary advancement. Their architecture, their technology, even their biology is designed around this principle." "But trauma isn't the key to evolution," Elena continued, her voice passionate. "Adaptation is. Every species in this room has proven that. The Volari developed ways to fragment their consciousness to preserve their memories. The Kethera learned to form new kinds of collective awareness after their primary network was shattered. Humanity went underground and reinvented itself. The various delegates stirred, their different forms of consciousness resonating through the neural interface network. They had all been chosen for this first coalition meeting because their species had done more than simply survive Meridian experimentation. They had found ways to grow stronger from it. "We propose more than an alliance," Admiral Chen declared. "We propose a new form of unified consciousness, not forced like the Meridian's network, but freely chosen and adaptable. Each species maintaining its unique perspective while contributing to a greater whole." Elena activated the quantum mechanics simulator, demonstrating how their combined technologies could work in harmony. "The Meridians believe that consciousness can only evolve through careful scientific protocols. We will show them how it evolves through cooperation and choice." The Volari delegate pulsed with a pattern that the translators interpreted as deep appreciation. "You speak of revolution not just against their empire, but against their entire understanding of existence." "Yes," Elena confirmed. "They sought to break us all down to our basic components. Instead, we will show them what those components can become when they choose to work together." As the delegates began sharing their own technological and tactical innovations, Elena felt a surge of hope. The Meridians had created this coalition through their own actions, bringing together species that would never have encountered each other naturally. In trying to understand consciousness through trauma, they had inadvertently created the mechanism of their own downfall. Captain Rodriguez joined her at the observation platform. "The Meridian's dissidents estimate we have 6 months before the Empire realizes the full scope of what we're doing," she said quietly. Elena nodded, watching as the delegates began interfacing their various technologies with human quantum systems. 6 months to turn thousands of years of suffering into the greatest revolution consciousness has ever known. She smiled. The Meridians wanted to study evolution. Let's show them what it really looks like. Breaking the chain. The quantum resonance tower loomed before them, a twisted spire of crystalline technology that pulsed with the combined consciousness of millions of Meridians. Captain Sarah Rodriguez studied it through the enhanced sensors of her stealth ship, now modified with technology from all 7 coalition species. The vessel's crew was equally diverse. Humans working alongside beings they would have once considered impossibly alien. "Neural dampening fields at maximum," reported Ktel, their Kethera navigation specialist. Its crystalline form sparkled with complex harmonics that the ship's systems translated into clear thoughts. "The Meridians cannot detect our presence in their consciousness stream." Dr. Elena Santos's voice came through their quantum link from the Coalition's mobile command center. The dissidents' information was correct. This tower controls the consciousness network for an entire sector. If we can disrupt it, we'll create a cascade effect. Sarah finished, a crack in their perfect unity. She turned to Zara, their Volari systems expert, whose iridescent form shifted with anticipation. Begin the infiltration sequence. The coalition had spent months preparing for this moment. Each species had contributed their unique understanding of consciousness and reality to create something entirely new, a way to move through the Meridian's defenses by existing in the spaces between their thoughts. Multiple patrol ships approaching. Maya Chen reported from Tactical. Standard search pattern Delta. Sarah felt the familiar surge of satisfaction. The Meridians still hadn't adapted their protocols, couldn't comprehend that their enemies might have evolved beyond their understanding. The patrol ships passed directly through their position, their sensors unable to detect a vessel that operated on frequencies their science had never considered. Initiating quantum breach, Zara announced, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with concentrated effort. Through their neural link, Sarah felt the precise calculations as coalition technology interfaced with the tower's systems. They weren't trying to destroy it. They were going to transform it. Meridian consciousness patterns detected. Cattell harmonized. Beginning isolation sequence. On their quantum displays, Sarah watched as the tower's energy patterns began to shift. The Meridians had built their entire civilization on the principle of forced unity through shared trauma. The coalition was about to show them a different kind of unity, one born of choice and diversity. First firewall breached, Zara reported, uploading the modified consciousness protocols. Elena's voice carried tension through their link. The dissidents say we'll have less than 3 minutes once they detect the intrusion. Their automated defense systems. The warning came too late. The tower suddenly blazed with new energy as hidden defense systems activated. The Meridians had anticipated something like this, not the specific attack, but the possibility that their subjects might eventually strike at their consciousness network. Multiple quantum resonance pulses detected, Maya reported sharply. They're trying to force synchronize with our neural patterns. Sarah felt the attack through their shared network, the Meridians attempting to impose their consciousness structure on the coalition forces. But instead of fighting it directly, they used the techniques learned from generations of resistance. Initiate Protocol Prism, Sarah commanded. The coalition crew responded as one, their diverse consciousness patterns refracting the Meridian attack like light through crystal. The Volari fractured it into harmless frequencies. The Kethera reformed it into new harmonies. The humans processed it through their quantum-enhanced neural networks, turning the energy back on itself. It's working, Elena transmitted excitedly. The tower's synchronization patterns are destabilizing. The Meridians can't comprehend how we're doing this. Their sensors are registering 7 different types of consciousness acting as one without forced uniformity. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Deploy the final phase. Through their combined technologies, they began uploading the truth into the Meridian network, not just data, but actual consciousness experiences. The memory of Earth's invasion, seen through human eyes, the horror of the Volari collectivity being shattered, the pain of the Kethera having their unity torn apart, but also the strength that had come after, the ways each species had grown and adapted. They're trying to lock us out, Zara reported, their patterns flickering with effort. No, Elena corrected. Those are the dissidents. They're creating gaps in the defense systems, making it look like technical failures. They're helping us show the truth to their own people. The tower's energy patterns began to fluctuate wildly as millions of Meridian minds encountered ideas that challenged their most fundamental beliefs. They had thought consciousness could only evolve through carefully controlled trauma. Now they were experiencing how it could grow through resistance, adaptation, and freely chosen cooperation. System overload imminent, Cattell harmonized urgently. That's our signal, Sarah commanded. All ships, execute emergency quantum jump. As their fleet engaged their drives, using frequencies the Meridians couldn't detect, Sarah watched the tower's final transformation. Its crystalline structure, designed to impose unified consciousness, now pulsed with multiple patterns of awareness. The Meridians had created a network to control thought. The coalition had turned it into a channel for understanding. Quantum jump complete, Maya reported. We're clear. Through their neural link, Sarah felt the satisfaction of her diverse crew. They had struck the first real blow against the Meridian Empire, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but by proving that their fundamental philosophy was flawed. The consciousness disruption is spreading through their network, Elena reported. The dissidents say it's affecting 6 neighboring sectors already. The Meridians can't stop it without shutting down their entire consciousness network. Sarah nodded, knowing this was just the beginning. They wanted to study evolution through suffering, she said. Instead, they're about to experience evolution through enlightenment. As their fleet regrouped at the predetermined coordinates, Sarah felt the various consciousness patterns of her crew flowing together in natural harmony. The Meridians had spent millennia trying to perfect consciousness through control and uniformity. They were about to learn that true perfection came through diversity and choice. Dawn of freedom. The Meridian homeworld hung in space like a fractured crystal, its once perfect symmetry now disrupted by waves of conflicting consciousness. From the command deck of the Coalition flagship Defiance, Admiral Chen watched as the Empire's carefully maintained unity continued to splinter. Their primary consciousness network is operating at 30% capacity, Dr. Elena Santos reported. Her neural interface processing data streams from a dozen different species. The dissidents have control of nearly half their quantum resonance towers. The rest are in chaos. The Coalition fleet hung in the void, invisible to Meridian sensors. Ships crewed by humans flew in perfect formation with vessels that housed the liquid consciousness of the Volari and the crystalline forms of the Kethara. 3 centuries of Meridian experimentation had inadvertently created the most powerful unified force the galaxy had ever seen. Their High Council is attempting to restore order. Captain Sarah Rodriguez transmitted from her position leading the stealth squadron. They're trying to synchronize the remaining loyal populations. Through their shared neural network, Elena felt the shift in the Meridian consciousness patterns. They don't understand, she said softly. Every attempt to impose unity is only creating more discord. Their entire system was built on the assumption that consciousness can be controlled and directed. Now that their people have experienced true freedom of thought, the High Council has issued an ultimatum. Cattell harmonized, their crystalline form resonating with intercepted communications. They're threatening to initiate the Omega Protocol. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. The dissidents had warned them about this, a final solution that would forcibly merge all Meridian consciousness into a single pattern, burning out any diversity of thought. They would rather destroy their own people's individuality than admit their fundamental theory was wrong. We're receiving a transmission, Elena announced, from the resistance leader. The quantum hologram materialized in the command center, showing the form of first speaker Virane. Like all Meridians, their crystalline body structure pulsed with internal light, but unlike their kin, the patterns were chaotic and individual rather than uniform. The High Council has begun the initialization sequence. Virane's thoughts flowed through their neural network. Once activated, the Omega Protocol will not only affect our people but will attempt to synchronize all conscious beings within our territory. They believe they can still prove their theory correct through one massive experiment. How long do we have? Chen demanded. 20 minutes until the sequence completes. Our resistance forces have delayed them as much as possible, but Virane's form flickered with distress. We need your help. Not to destroy our civilization, but to save it from itself. Elena stepped forward, her mind already racing through possibilities. The Coalition's neural interface technology. If we could modify it to work with your consciousness patterns. No, Sarah interrupted, her thoughts cutting through the network with clarity. We don't need to modify anything. The Meridians need to see that consciousness has already evolved beyond their understanding, not through their experiments, but because of them. Understanding flowed through the neural network as the coalition forces grasped the plan. They had spent months showing the Meridians the truth of their actions, but now they would show them something more powerful, the future they had unknowingly created. All ships, initiate consciousness link protocols, Admiral Chen commanded. Full spectrum, all species, all patterns, show them what true unity looks like. The coalition fleet began to glow with combined energy as each ship's crew opened their consciousness fully to the network. Humans shared their capacity for adaptation and innovation. The Valeri contributed their understanding of fluid thought patterns. The Kethera added their knowledge of harmonic consciousness. Each species that had suffered under Meridian experimentation now offered their unique perspective to create something entirely new. Omega Protocol at 70%, Virane mourned. Elena felt the surge of power through their network as more minds joined the link. We're not trying to stop them, she realized. We're giving them somewhere else to go. The coalition's combined consciousness reached out to the Meridian network, not to attack or defend, but to offer choice. Through their connection, they shared not just information but understanding. The Meridians had sought to prove that consciousness evolved through controlled suffering. Instead, they had created the conditions for it to evolve through diversity and free will. Omega Protocol at 90%. Cattell harmonized. Look, Sarah whispered. The Meridian homeworld was transforming. As the High Council tried to force their population into unity, more and more of them were choosing to join the coalition's network instead. The resistance had grown from a small group of scientists to a movement that encompassed billions of minds, each discovering for the first time what it meant to be truly individual within a freely chosen collective. Omega Protocol has failed, Virane announced, their form blazing with joy. The network, it's transforming, evolving. Through their shared consciousness, Elena felt the moment the Meridian civilization changed forever. Their rigid hierarchy of forced unity dissolved, replaced by a new pattern of voluntary cooperation. The species they had sought to study and control were now teaching them a new way to exist. The High Council has surrendered, Sarah reported. They're asking for guidance in understanding these new consciousness patterns. Admiral Chen smiled, thinking of humanity's long journey from victims to teachers. Tell them understanding will come naturally once they stop trying to control it. As the coalition fleet maintained their consciousness link, Elena watched the dawn of a new era spread across the galaxy. The Meridians had tried to quantify the evolution of consciousness through careful experimentation. Instead, they had become part of the greatest consciousness experiment of all, one based not on control and suffering, but on freedom and choice. We should thank them, she said softly, feeling the harmony of 1,000 different species flowing through their network. In trying to break us all, they gave us the opportunity to become something greater than any of us could have imagined alone. The first light of a new day spread across the Meridian homeworld, its crystal spires now pulsing with infinite patterns of individual thought united in freely chosen purpose. The age of experimentation was over. The age of true evolution had begun.